From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Miss Vicki.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
What?
I've been thinking about this Sentinel system.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sentinel system.
So what I was thinking was we have the one car that's got the aim dash that's slowing us down. Because installing the aim dash is actually, it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time. And we haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in the Lemons car? And we'll worry about the aim data information separately. And we'll kind of break it down into a project. Because then we'd have the motorsports video system that we really, really want, and we'd be able to stream it. We just won't have the data inside, but we have the data outside, so we can combine them later. But I think that's a really good solution.
So what does this Sentinel system do?
Well, if it had the aim data, it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry and everything live. But we'd be able to not only record it for viewing after the race, but we could actually watch our car during the race.
Ooh, like on the monitor and everything?
On a monitor, if you were at home and I was at a track, or if you were at the track and I was at home, depends on who gets the short straw, but we'd be able to watch each other.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
And you know what? If you're driving, you know what you can do on the Sentinel system?
What's that?
You can communicate to me with your hands, and I can't do a thing about it.
Even better.
So, if you need to give a wave or a Jersey wave, whatever you need, we could save it and see it on the screen. And then you can have up to 3 different cameras, and it'll have picture in picture. You'll have the basic main shot out the front window, and then 2 cameras where you put them wherever you want. One could be on the driver, or one could be on the rear view. It's kind of cool.
Then we can upload it onto YouTube.
We could bore millions of people on YouTube.
I love it.
All right. Very well. You know what the only downside I see about this?
What?
Your mom and my mom are going to be panic stricken the entire weekend watching this thing to see if everything's going well.
This is true.
We probably shouldn't tell them.
I like the idea of having a Sentinel.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we have maybe 2. Depends on how things go. We're going to try. All right. That sounds like a plan. That's the project. We got to get that ready for the next race.
Sounds great.
All right. Very well. Thank you, ma'am. Miss Vicki.
Yes.
Ben's here.
I know. I love when Ben shows up.
You know what the best part about Ben being here?
What's that?
We can actually answer questions correctly.
Yeah, we can.
That's a big maybe. We'll see. Oh.
So Ben, you and I have been sending emails back and forth recently about things that we could talk about.
Okay.
And one of them was driving offline and why you want to be good at it.
Oh, well, where do you pass most people?
When they're in the pit.
That's true. That's true. But in what position are you usually in on track when you're executing a pass, or at least some of the time?
For our team,
all
it's
over.
a position of surprise.
All over. No, on the turns,
seated position.
I usually lately trying to drive offline, I've caught them on the turns.
Going in or coming out?
I don't have an answer for that.
Correct answer could be yes, but you have a preference?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a preference?
I try to line up. Usually I try to get it on the way out because I kind of see. Well, no, I'm messing it up. I'm gonna let Ben talk.
Well,
I'm messing it up.
We're talking about today about the importance of being adept and developing your skills at driving offline, and we're saying that's important for the endeavor we do in racing, where you're passing somebody. Because when you're making the pass, you may get the ideal line for part of your pass execution, but at some point you're going to have to be in there next to another car, and you're not going to get to have the perfect line. Either you're going to have a pinched exit, a pinched entry, being inside somebody. You might be the person who gets to be at the apex while that person's outside of you, but as you're exiting, unless you're really ripping that pass really fast, you're probably not going to get the ideal exit. So somewhere along the way in the pass execution, you're going to be off of the ideal line. And it's important to be comfortable venturing out there and knowing what to expect when you're not on the ideal or the school line we sometimes talk about, like the HPDE ideal line, where you're doing most of your braking in a straight line, late apexes, things that set you up for the most consistent, predictable track experience. You know what I'm saying, Bill?
Mm-hmm. I do. I don't like it, but I do. Not my preferred method of instruction in some cases, but I understand the philosophy behind it. But I think Vicki's understating her knowledge and execution of driving offline.
Right.
Well, I remember it showed up at Pitt, because Pitt is an expansive track. I mean, it's big. So at one point when I was driving, it dawned on me, because you have a pretty good amount of spacing in between the turns, but it dawned on me that if I just did the opposite of what the guy was doing in front of me on the line, which had me driving offline, then I have a really good chance of passing them, because as they were slowing for some of the turns, if I got it just right, then I could execute a pass or set myself up for a pass. Because at the time I was driving a slower car, but the bigger cars were slowing down in the turn. So it gave me an opportunity that if I just executed it, and it was really kind of weird, because it was almost like I could visualize the offline at that point, but it would come and go at the same time when the cars would kind of go back online and shift. But it was a sensory thing. Yes.
I have a question. So you're talking about passing cars. In this instance, you mentioned passing cars that are, bigger, probably heavier cars than yours, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm picturing when you're describing that is that you're realizing you can make up a bunch of time on braking. So are you kind of on the entry, working your way up to get right behind them on the braking, then assuming that they're not going to be as fast through the corner as you are?
Correct.
Since they're bigger and heavier, you're expecting to outperform them on the way in, to be in a great position to drive past them on the way out, since you're going to be doing the same faster. Yeah.
Right, because they would end up slowing down in like the S's, or they would be slowing down in tighter spots of the track. But driving a smaller car like a Miata or a Honda, it just set me up that I could execute and the line, like I said, it was kind of like a weird visual, like you can almost visualize the line happening. I'm like, if I just did that, and if I just did boom, 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 and I can see how I could play it out before I played it out by predicting what the car was doing in front of me.
Vicki's over here playing 4D chess, because you're saying a lot of important stuff. You're watching them as you're catching up to them. You're watching how their car performs and behaves.
Right.
You're starting to think, oh yeah, I'm gonna catch this MFer in the S's because I know that he's gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. But this is all great. This is fantastic culmination of racecraft and the development of your understanding of how traffic plays out. It's so important to be thinking in the predictive way that you're describing when you're working through race traffic. Where is this guy going to be? Where am I going to be when the pass is happening? Am I comfortable out there? Also, something you sort of touched on, I'm not sure you fully have recognized it, is when you're seeing a car ahead of you be slower through the turns, you can be less apprehensive about having to go offline because you're like, I already know I can go way faster than this car if I was on the line. So being a little bit offline, I'm still going to be way faster than this car, even if I have to be in the, not the ideal position for the time trial lap. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna make a time trial lap, but I'm still gonna have a faster lap than this guy this lap because I'm gonna pass him because I know, they're gonna eat a bunch of crap in this section of the track where my car is better. It might be that you might have a more powerful car, and you just go, I'm just gonna wait this. I'm gonna wait this Miata out until I get that big long backstretch, and then I'm gonna walk him and never see him again, or vice versa. You might be in a Miata chasing a more powerful car. And you're like, hey, wait till I get to the brake zone at the end of that backstretch. That's gonna got 2 more turns right after that. I'm gonna outbrake him at the end of the backstretch. I'm gonna disappear in that next set of turns, and then he won't have a chance to catch me again. So because that's the kind of 2 ways I visualize coming and going, and the ways you can think of taking advantage.
And it's really weird when you have that moment because you don't fully have that moment. So it's just like at the beginning part of it. I'm like, oh, I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see what people are talking about when they're saying about the racecraft. But at this point, I haven't done it enough to make it stick, like the patterns stick yet. But it's exciting. It really is exciting.
Well, you're understanding it at a higher level than you were, when we first started doing this podcast, or 6 months ago. It sounds like a great progress to me.
You also have to look at it the other way too, Miss Vicki. Like, let's stay at pit race for you. And Ben, I know you haven't been there yet with us, but we'll work that out soon.
Right.
Coming out of turn all the way in the back, turn 12, 13, going to the big back straight. The last thing you want to do is finally execute this specific turn pass that you've been trying to work on, going onto the back straight with a car that's much faster and straightaway, because they now have that infinitely long back straight just to pass you right back. So all the work you did won't matter because they're just going to pass you again. So you just wait. And you try to get them more in one of the curvier sections where you can build up your gap, and then they're gone. Right?
Yeah.
So you just don't try and pull the pass because you're never going to hold it. They're just going to pass you right back going, flat out for the next straightaway. So you just wait and hang.
Yeah. You really do have to figure out where his exit's going to be and where you predict that car is going to be, because it's going to set you up in some cases in the S's. You're going to have to play that out in 3 movements if you're in the S's, because you have to remember that you have to go opposite 3 times basically if you can't make the pass. I mean, you're trying, but you got to make sure that you can, and that's where I start losing it a little bit, but because usually it was difficult to make the passes on the straightaway because I was always in the slower cars. Usually wasn't in a Miata or a Civic or a truck. I just couldn't compete.
They're so
with
similar.
the bigger cars. Well, I couldn't compete with the fast cars. Yeah. They would just smoke me each time, but I would usually kind of catch them.
So I guess the simplest way that we talk about this is, why is it important to learn how to be good at being offline is because if the car you're passing is online, it's very difficult to pass them online because you will hit them because you are in the same spot. So you have to get good at passing offline because that's the only spot you can unless they make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I think we lost Ben.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here.
He's still there. You were just still for so long.
That's a fake out. Gotcha.
It worked. So Ben, what else is the benefit of? Because I can think of a couple things. What else are the benefits of being good at being offline?
One that immediately springs to mind after the chief benefit of being good at passing. Another one is just being ready and comfortable with what you're going to be faced with if the track surface is wet. A lot of times you're going to want to explore the offline section because in some tracks the line itself gets a little greasy and slimy with all the tire rubber when it gets wet, and so you might want to be a little bit offline where sometimes can potentially be better grip for braking or getting the car to rotate. So. Right. A lot of times a half lane over or a full lane over might be the best place to be in the wet. And you want to be ready to go exploring and just find and fight for whatever grip there is. I know I don't say this enough, but when you get the wonderful blessing of having a chance to drive as fast as you can or race in the rain, gosh, you got to go out there and fight for every little bit of grip, every corner, every lap. It's different. You got to just be ready to test and find whatever you can find every single time and be ready for it to be different. So a huge key component in that is being ready to drive offline. This may or may not be stealing all of your thunder, but another one that I can think of, or as being comfortable being offline for sustained periods, would be, once you've been offline a little bit, getting your pass done, staying offline long enough to be sure that you fully completed the pass. And I kind of hammer this because I've had a teammate who was bad about, hitting people after he thought he had a pass done because he was just inexperienced enough where he's like, I got to get back online before I can make this next turn in. Like, be ready to make your next turn in from a lane off, be ready to execute whatever you need to do offline, and don't be obsessed with feeling like you need to get back on the line. Like, if you're good enough to get offline and pass somebody, be good enough to stay out of line long enough to be sure you're clear and sort of re-entering the normal flow of traffic after you've done a pass. So,
right.
So it seems like kind of a depressing follow-up to know how to be offline to get a pass done, but you gotta complete it. You gotta complete it safely. So Be ready to stay offline long enough to get it done. Those are a couple of other chief benefits that I can think of as far as safety and success in racing with being offline.
One of the things that I try and, when I've been instructing recently, is every now and then we'll get a point by going into a turn, but the student won't take it quite as quickly as they could have. So they'll end up passing later than I would ideally like them to be passing.
Yeah.
So then I kind of have to do a quick, instructor tutorial. Okay, now we're offline. We're tight to the apex. We need to slow down more because we can't go through here at the same speed. And being able to judge that intuitively, calibrating the butt dyno, shall we say, is an important part of this. And the more flexible you are with your lines and going through turns online, offline, and way offline, sometimes something can happen in front of you, an upset car, a spin, a spill, whatever. It's important, especially in the high-speed turns, to understand what you're going to have to change and what you're going to have to adjust versus just lap after lap after lap after lap. So, that's another important thing about being able to drive offline.
Yeah, like for example, like if traffic was forcing you down that sort of stretch that leads you down the road to turn 6 and 7 at Road Atlanta, so you kind of you've been through the S's and big turn 5 to the left, then you're headed down that short straightaway. That turn 6 can be really fast. But if somebody's going to be robbing me of my chance to come from way outside, swing down to the apex, and come way back out, for some reason I got to take the high line through there without being able to get to the apex. I can't carry the same amount of speed, right?
Well, you don't know what you can carry unless you've already tried it.
Oh, well, right. So fortunately, I know this from practicing and being offline there. But you have to learn how to go offline so you can adjust your set of assumptions so you know what to expect. Like Vicki mentioned, I know what to expect coming through traffic because I know what my car is going to be able to do through here versus what I see this car doing. Or versus the conditions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, indeed. So the fundamental thing, why it's important to know how to drive offline, because if everybody else drives a line, you are now in a what's that, the Beetlejuice dance,
conga line. Yep. Fun.
You're in a conga line. Tough to pass when you're all on the same line.
No fun on track. Potentially could be fun if you're all like naked and drunk in a room or something. I don't know.
I tend to wear more safety equipment than that.
Yeah, probably smart.
How we doing, Miss Vicki? We got anything else about being offline? You comfy?
Oh, yeah, offline. No, that's kind of what I got. I think I understand.
Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Dawson, I think we've beaten that one up a little bit. We'll move on to another Dominating with Dawson as a time in the future, coming to a galaxy near you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks, Ben.